Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Talking Tradesman. With me in the studio today, I've got Chris Booth so this man here is doing some incredible work for men's mental health. Breath of Life is an initiative that him and his friends are putting out around Telford.
Yeah, Telford area, yeah.
We're going to get all into this. We're going to get all into the work that you're doing, Chris. Let's talk, man.
Right then, so what would you like to know, Russ?
Well, with any story, mate, it has its origins. You know,
Okay.
Obviously you're doing a lot of work around mental health and you'll have your own reasons for that. So what I'd like to do is go back. Do you know what, mate? I've watched and listened to a lot of your social media.
Okay.
And one of the things I've heard you say a lot is that you lived a life of chaos and carnage.
There was quite a lot, yeah, to be quite honest.
Yeah, so let's go back as far as is appropriate to like the beginning of your story to what's led you here today.
Okay, so let's go. Why don't we go back to the start of the chaos and carnage? So I'd say the start of the chaos and carnage was probably when I first got incarcerated. There was a build up to it, and I had a bit of a colourful life, shall we say. There's all colours of the rainbow. There was a lot of 2-second decisions that got me into a lot of trouble. But my first sentence was it was when I was 15 years old. So when everybody else was probably sat down doing their exams and all that type of stuff, I was in a sweatbox getting ready for my first prison sentence, you know. And
What sort of trouble were you getting yourself into?
so it started off at the start of my crime life, should we call it, the old life. It started off with a robbery charge. So it was too much bloody New Jack City. It was too much menace to society. Juice and all them films from the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
That was like influenced by the
Yeah,
films?
influence, and then you're around all your friends and you want to get rich quick and all that type of stuff. So we thought it was a good idea.
What a film, though, man. You've just hit me with nostalgia then. Menace to Society was a film and a half,
we're
wasn't it?
products of the 80s, aren't we? You know?
Yeah.
Like it's the same these days, you know. It's like, if they say that your eyes are the windows to the soul, then it's what you let in. You know, what goes in your eyes and what goes in your ears, that has a big play on what you get up to. That's how I looked at, like, that's how I see it now anyway, you know. So we decided it was a good idea to turn over our local post office. It didn't go to plan. I was a little bit older than a couple of the lads by 6 months. So my co-accused, so that would be the people that were involved with the crime with me, they were just touching 15, whereas I was closer to 16, you know. I ended up going to court, and I'd had chance after chance after chance before this, you know. It wasn't like I just went out and done this and then went to jail. Believe me, I had every chance that was in the book. I'd been in and out the court system pretty much since the age of 13, you know, for various things, getting into trouble, fighting, all that type of stuff. And I got sent down. I got 2 years in jail, which I think, I believe...
Was that juvie at that age?
Yeah, so it would have been a jail called Brinsford, so it's a local one to like Telford, Wolverhampton, Birmingham and all that type of stuff. But I believe that's where my major mental health, that was the first stepping stone, you know. I've got a story if you'd like to hear it. But...
Yeah, man, of course.
So, it gets locked up. I'm 15 years old. My mum's told me to go to jail in my school uniform, said that the judge will go a bit more lenient on me. I'm like 44 years old now. So when I was 15, I probably looked about 12, you know. So she said, you know, we'll play that card, son. Go there and it's school uniform, the judge won't send you down. But the judge had ulterior means and he wanted to incarcerate me. Ends up going to jail. So I'm in the holding room, full school uniform, minus the tie, because what they do, they take the tie off you because it's your first time in jail. They think you maybe might hang yourself on the sweatbox, you know, because there is places that you'd probably be able to rig one up and do away with yourself. Gets into the holding room. There's like, it's a very inner city jail, so there's a lot of, I'm gonna use the word gang. There's a lot of gang people in there. I'm there in my school uniform, school shoes, they're all coming in their brand new Air Max, nice tracksuits, all the rest of it. So I'm already a target in the corner. Something that I wasn't really used to because I've never been a bully, but I've always been able to hold my own, you know. And I wasn't used to being intimidated like that and in an environment like that. Goes through reception and all the rest of it. Does a strip search. Next thing, I'm in my cell, and it just got to me on there, and I'm thinking, just had a deep sense of missing my mum, you know. And then started to have a cry in that. I'm on the top bunk. I wasn't allowed the bottom bunk because I wasn't that guy. I had to be on the top bunk. Started crying, and so my pub mates clocked it. Says, "What's up, bruv? What's up?" And says, "Fucking missing my mum, man." And he's gone, "It's all right, man. We all miss our mum." And I thought, no way, man. He understands. Do you know what I mean? Next thing, went to sleep that night. We got association the next day. You get like an hour where you go out your cell. You can use your phone, play pool, all that type of stuff. Goes into the association room where the pool table and that is, and everybody's laughing at me. Everybody's like saying, "Oh, that's him who misses his mum. That's my mum from Telford," and all that type of stuff. So like in there at the time, it changed over a few sentences, and Telford wasn't a minority then. There was like, I'm going to use the word, but there was a little firm of us in there. When I was there, I was the minority. I was from Telford. Basically, the lads thought that we had combine harvesters with XR2 engines in and all that type of stuff. They just didn't have an understanding of like where we was from. They just thought, it's nowhere. What that done for me then is, I went back to my cell, sat on my bed, and I wanted to cry, but I didn't want to cry because I just cried in front of this pad mate, and he just used it against me. So what that done then is, it enabled me to put all my thoughts and my feelings into a box. I didn't want to share it with nobody because I thought, if I'm going to share what's going on in my heart and my mind, and you're going to use that against me, and I'm going to become a victim because of how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, then I'm going to lock them up and put them in a box. And then there was a long period of in and out of jail, like a revolving door. So then what that done then is bred an environment where I was more times in jail than I was outside. So I spent more time in jail than what I did in society. So I spent more time locking up my thoughts and my feelings. So then I sort of like, that was a part of my institutionalization, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was in there a lot of the time. Even then when I got out, I found I was doing that on the outside. You know, I was getting out and I wasn't talking to people. I was holding all my thoughts and my feelings. And I think that's where, I've obviously had loads of time to think about stuff because I spent loads of time in the 6x9 cell. I do believe that's where...
That was the moment.
Yeah.
We said this pre-record, mate, didn't we, about the strength it takes for a man to open up is huge. And if you get rejected at that point, that's it. You're going to seal everything up tight.
Ross, if you share at the wrong table and with the wrong people,
Exactly
what that does then, the only way I can explain it is, you're going to pull the shutters down and you're shutting up shop on those thoughts and those feelings, you know. You're saying, nah, I ain't doing this no more. You ain't coming into my head. When obviously later on in life, things have changed and, you know, there's a lot that's gone on since then, and I've got a different awareness and a different understanding about thoughts and feelings. But to be quite honest, that's where a lot of it started. And even my anxiety, you know, when I think about it, the anxiety probably come from there because as much as I thought I could have a scrap, as much as like, because I went to quite a lot of schools, you know, I was never a bully at school. I actually did like school, but I got into a lot of fights. So like in Telford, a lot of the schools are quite close together. So on a dinner time, like you're bored, you got an hour for dinner, you go to the next school and have a fight with the hardest in the year, see what goes on. You win some, you lose some. Some of them are my real good friends now, so them fights actually created friendships. But
it was a different world, mate, wasn't it? I've had the pleasure of sitting down with people from a lot of different generations, and I think you have to put it in context. Like, I mean, we're a few years apart, not many.
Not many, yeah.
But I remember, like, back when I was in my early 20s, every night ended in a fight. That was a night out. It was just part and parcel of the culture then. So there was a lot of that, man. But like after having that initial rejection and bullying in prison, how did the rest of that sentence play out? The first one.
Well, to be honest, I become pretty cold pretty quick, you know.
That's a heavy sentence for a first sentence, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 2 years, you know. So you go in when you're 15, you get out just before you're 17. Basically, then you get out. Everybody, all your mates that you went to school with, and all the friends that you've made, they're all just passing their tests and all the rest of it. And like you feel like you're back 10 paces. So then what happens is you get in the mindset of you've got to catch up. And then the quickest way to catch up is probably to commit more crime in your mind. That's what you think, because it was a young mind, you know. And then obviously when you're in there, it's like it's a university, but it's a different type of university, you know.
Yeah.
You go in there and you get to know things and all that type of stuff. And then it just led to a life of chaos and carnage. It basically, when I weigh stuff up, it's like 6 minutes of 2-second decisions probably took 14 years of my life, brother. Do you know what I mean? So for 6 minutes of shitty decisions.
It's a powerful statement.
Yeah,
that is, Chris.
it's took us. Yeah, well, I've had the time to think about it. You know, the same way I've had the time to think about how much money I might have spent on narcotics and all that in the past. But it adds up, you know. There's easy couple of houses and that.
How many? Do you know what? Even recently, and I won't mention names and that because it's a relatively recent thing. But there's a chap I know, Sparky actually, recently lost his life because he got pushed over in Liverpool on a stag do, banged his head.
Oh, yeah, it's only that on your head, isn't it?
Yeah, and how many? What I was getting at though is how many of those split 2-second decisions do people make that then have consequences that will last a lifetime?
Well, I seen, to be honest, was the first time that I seen any sort of suicide was in jail, which wasn't nice. And like, I should imagine that was a 2-second decision. At the actual point of the lads doing it. There's been a build-up, there's been bullying that's gone on, there's been things that's gone on, you know.
Was there a lot of it, mate, when you were in?
There's too much of it. Yeah, one's too much, isn't it, boy?
Oh, man, of course, like, yeah.
When you see, it's a different, when you see lads, so say when you got a lad he's like 15 years old, you know, like myself, I never had a hair on my body, I was like a boiled egg, but like a young 15-year-old, looks young, and they're only little short lads, and they got lads towering above them, bullying them and all the rest of it, and like just putting themselves all over them. And then they can't handle that pressure. And they think the only way to get out of that pressure is to either cut themselves or hang themselves off a bed. It's not nice. So there's one instance when, I'll give you one example, like all the staff are going, right, everybody banged up. When they're going around closing everybody's flaps. And they've gone around, but they forgot to close my flap. So my flap's still open, so you got like a little bit of glass, so you look through. And the cell that they were going to was opposite me, and when they opened the door, the lad's there. He's decided enough's enough. He doesn't want to be around no more, and so he's hung himself. But he's been there for a bit of time. So his head's basically, I'm not going to say the size of a basketball, but it wasn't the normal size of a head, and he's got all his bodily fluids down his leg and stuff like that. You're not meant to see stuff like that. I mean, 15 years old. Do you know what I mean?
No.
You're not meant to. And then that was the first one. Then you do loads of sentences. You see loads of that stuff.
You get desensitised to it.
I think it always bothers you. It does always bother you because it's death, you know. But it's just sort of like, someone else has done it. It's just like talk on the land. Oh, did you? And then you're like, oh yeah, you get used to it. Yeah, desensitised is the right word. I'd say, yeah, you do, Ross. Yeah, definitely. Which isn't good.
No, it interested me because I told you again pre-record. I told you that I volunteered at Samaritans for 18 months. And we used to get a lot of calls from the prisons, certain prisons, because I know it's a hot spot.
You got a line for the Samaritans.
Yeah, that's it. Dedicated lines. And do you know what, mate? I had some great conversations with people that were banged up. You know, just people that, I mean, you can only take the value of what you're hearing. Do you know what I mean? But it seemed like genuine people, whatever reason that they were in, but the struggles were real. You know. Some of
them. Do you know what I'd say? In every jail, there's some of the best sports people. There's some of the best artists. There's some of the best people that write in literature and stuff like that. There's some of the best poets. You know, with these lads that go in and they're into all the rap and all the rest of it. It's poetry when they put them words. So, you know, they're so powerful words. I've seen a lad in there that was literally a magician, like Dynamo.
Yeah.
You know, he was in there for basically switching jewellery and jewellery shops and that. But he was literally like, if anybody's watching this and they've been and they know what I'm on about, there's someone called Dynamo. So what I'm trying to say is, it's full of some of society's most gifted and talented people. The only difference is that they made some bad decisions.
2-second decision again.
Yeah, and had put themselves in a wrong environment. They've had the wrong thoughts, which led to the wrong actions, which led to the wrong direction, which was chaos and carnage. Basically, they were mixing up the wrong life cake.
Let's take a quick break there to thank this episode's sponsors, Brewers Decorators Centres. Brewers have got over 200 stores nationwide. They're the premier destination for decorators, and they stock all of the best brands in the industry. Brewers give the best advice in store, and on top of that, you can get 10% off your first and second purchase, plus trade rates and free delivery when you sign up for a Brewers Pro Trade Card. A massive thanks again to Brewers for supporting the Talking Tradesman podcast and helping us raise mental health awareness throughout construction and beyond. Let's get back to the episode.
That's what they were doing, and it's sad to see. And then
Explain that one, mate, because I've seen you talk about the life cake.
So,
but just for the listeners, explain the life cake.
So, life cake, you got to make a cake, you got to have ingredients, haven't you? So, you got to put the right ingredients in. So, imagine if we was making a cake, and I know some people say, oh, you either love it or hate it, but you're not really going to want to put Marmite in the cake, are you? Or imagine something that's not very nice in a cake.
I hate Marmite.
Yeah,
mate,
I'm not a Marmite man either, you know? I don't like Marmite. So for me, if someone bought me a cake with Marmite, I'd be like, I can't eat that, it's got the wrong ingredients in. It's the same with life, you know? If you put into your life cake chaos and carnage and bitterness and resentment and all that type of stuff, it's going to be a shit cake. And then you're going to try to take that cake to your family and your friends and try to get some goodness from it. It doesn't work like that. You know, it's going to leave a bad taste in the mouth. Eventually that bad taste destroys relationships. Eventually that bad taste would destroy relationships so much it would start to destroy you because you destroyed them relationships. I've got a bit more of an understanding and awareness about that now. So what I like to say is make a life cake, you know. Have some, and there's only a few ingredients can do this. It doesn't have to be like all, like, I don't know, Marks and Sparks finest and all that type of stuff. You just need some hope. Yeah, the big one, hope. Hope in yourself and hope in the people around you, but the right people. And then you need some faith. Faith that you're able to do what you know you can do. You can change and all that type of stuff. You have faith that you're able to go out there and be that person that you know you want to be. It's not just an idea. It's not just in your head for a reason. You know, you can be that person. And then amongst it all, like one of the main ingredients is love. You know, without sounding like however, but I don't mind because that's the way it is.
Mate, listen,
to love the people around you.
We all just want to be loved. Yeah, underneath it all.
And love yourself. If you can't love yourself, how are you meant to love other people? I don't mean love yourself, say, oh, like I'm $1 million and all that type of stuff. Just no, man, we're all unique. We're all individual. You know, everybody's got a tattooed on them these days. Or like, especially from the 80s, everyone's got only God can judge. But do they honestly believe that when they go out the door? You know, when they get it tattooed on you, do you honestly, or are you bothered about what everyone else has got to say and what everybody else thinks about you? Or do you actually believe that you was made that way? You're individual, you're unique, you're special, you know? This is what's got to be passed out there, you know? You've just got to make that life cake. And when you make the life cake with the right ingredients, you can take it to your family and your friends and they have a piece of that cake and they're like, oh, yeah. Like, my life was fucking chaos and carnage, man, for years. And I destroyed a lot of family relationships. Some of my family relationships that I haven't even been able to put together now, you know? So I'm more than aware of the bad ingredients, you know? I'm more than aware what the bad ingredients can do. But I try to mix up a different cake now. The only thing, I don't get to share it with some of the people that I like to share it with, but that's my own doing. They were my actions, my thoughts. It was the direction that I took, you know. So I have got an understanding about that. But it's just about make the life cake, divide it up between your family and your friends, you know. Get mixing, get baking, get walking, get moving forward, you know.
Honestly, mate, again, I said this before, but somebody with your experience, yeah, you've been through what you've been through. You can't change that now.
No.
But you can use the value in that. I'll talk about this a lot, the value in trauma.
Yeah.
And if you change your mindset to start to be able to see the value in those circumstances, it's a game changer. Because you can take everything that you've been through and now have come out the other side and give those lessons to people. As I said to you before, that are you from 10 years ago. You know, what would the Chris of 15 years ago, do you know what I mean? Like, if he'd have had somebody like you that had walked that path.
Oh, don't. Do you know what? It'd be a game changer. You know, like, you have lived experience, and then you have people go on and say, oh, I'm lived experience. I've gone through this and I've gone through that, and now I want to go and get a job because I'm lived experience. But to me, it's like, lived experience is like you've got over something. It's pretty. It's past tense. I think there's one better than lived experience. Do you know what I mean? And that's living experience. That's people that have gone through traumas. That's people that have gone through chaos and carnage, or shadows, as I like to put it. And they are still able to give back, and still able to go out there and raise awareness, bring some understanding to the table. So it's all well and good, and I'm not taking nothing away from no one here. But somebody who's gone to uni and trained up on psychology, mental health and all that, but actually hasn't suffered it themselves, to someone that has suffered it himself and then gone and done that, and then they're sat in front of you, and you're going to be like, oh, so yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah.
You know, but then when they haven't, it's sort of like, well, what's the point, you know? If you haven't lived a very peaceful life, and then you try put it back together, how can you expect that to be a peaceful process? You know, it's not going to be a peaceful process. You got loads of shit you got to sort out here. But you have to own it as well. So
You got to have the tools as well.
turning your
Chris,
pain into purpose. Well, a friend that I spoke about before, he's been a big light in my corner. That's what he says. Turn your pain into purpose, brother. You've got to get some purpose from it, because then otherwise it's always a mistake, isn't it? If you learn something from it, it's a lesson, you know. But then what people seem to do is they learn something from it and they go, fuck everyone else, I've sorted my situation out. It's a bit bloody selfish, ain't it? Why not let everybody else know, the people around you, know how you done it, or raise awareness of other people?
So much power in that, mate.
Do you know what I mean? Bring the box down. It's Pandora's box, basically. Put it on the shelf or bring it down.
I've said to many people, mate, that have lived a life that have regret. And to me, the thing is, like, again, going back to that version of you that was 20 years old, you only had a certain tool set. You'd only been given certain tools in life. And unless somebody has given you the other tools and shown you how to use them, to a degree you have to forgive yourself for your previous actions, because you didn't have the tools which translate as coping mechanisms, experience to deal with it. Have you forgiven the previous version of you for things that you've done in the past?
I know there's going to be some people watching this, so I'd like to say yes. But if I'm going to sit down and be honest with you, like, I actually do preach to my brothers that are around me in the breath of life. I say there's two things that can set you free. One of them is forgiveness, and the other one is truth. But if they see this podcast, they're going to say, Chris, I know you still find it hard to forgive yourself for certain things, but I do. But I have owned a lot of stuff, and I'm still going through a process of forgiving.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying, listen, no one's ever died. There's never been no bad stuff happening to women or children or nothing like that. But I did live in the shadows, so a few people got hurt along the way. And I have forgiven myself, but I think it's a process, you know. It's like I say to people, like, sometimes because you forgive someone doesn't necessarily mean we're going to rock up and have Sunday dinner and a cup of tea. What it means is,
of course,
you just don't want them to have that power in your head. But I do find it hard sometimes, but it's a process. I'm going through the process. And I think that's where the lived and the living come in. You know, I'm still living with certain stuff.
Yeah, man.
But I'm still
100%. Listen, that's a fair and honest answer. It is a process. Perfect. It is a process. It was just, we just wondered whether there was still work being done, which there is, and that's good. You
I
know what
think
mean?
it's always a work in progress. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, isn't it, Russ? You know,
A
none
million
of us are
percent.
bloody perfect. It's always, we're always trying to make a little bit of progress, and if it's just a little 1% every day, then. But yeah, I have for a lot of things. I have, to be quite honest, but there is a few things. I don't really want to get into it too much on the podcast, but there is like.
Oh, we don't have to get into details of
But
specifics, mate.
I dip my toes in, but like. I destroyed the relationship between my mum and dad because of my addiction and all that type of stuff. And I still find that hard to deal with, you know. So, but then I am trying, they obviously speak to my kids, they're 23, 28. They speak to my boys, so it does get passed down what I'm getting up to, but...
Listen, man, the work you're doing, you never know. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't
I
speak
hope
for your
so.
parents,
Bloody
but
hell.
things
Never
could get
mind.
over. You've just touched on something there, being addiction. When did that start? Was that in prison or out of prison?
To be honest, I had a dreadful side of addiction with me. From the age of about 19 to the point where it was serious addiction. It caused a lot of chaos. There was a lot of false promises, a lot of selfishness. All those beautiful things that come with addiction
Addicts,
that nobody wants to
yeah.
admit. And I will always be an addict. I just choose not to pick up. You know, and that's the truth of it. I choose not to pick up because I know my poison.
Was it the hard stuff? Was it alcohol?
It wasn't. Drinking hasn't really been a problem of mine. I do sometimes I might have a glass of wine after my meal and stuff like that. But nothing like that. I went just straight for a top shelf. So, like for instance, in the building trade, everyone like said, "But wow, there's a big culture of sniffing and all that."
It's massive.
It's
Huge.
I wouldn't stop at sniffing because once you sniff so much, you can one, your nose is all blocked up. Then you just can't get no higher. There's another level, and that another level is called crack cocaine, and that's what absolutely just annihilated my life to the point where, it just fucking basically turned me into Pete Doherty. Do you know what I mean? It was a bad state of affairs, and I own that, and I own that because I want other people to see that change can happen. But that is one of the things that to be honest, I do struggle with it sometimes. No, I don't mean struggling with smoking it or being tempted. I just mean, like, I've got a few stories on my socials and that, and then even when I just see the pictures of that person that I used to be when I was in and out of the
I've
police
seen
station.
the one, mate. You posted a picture of you. I'm guessing your mugshots.
Yeah, they are. They're
different, but mate, some of them pictures don't look like you.
No, there's one on there where, Ross, the one on there is when I got sectioned. The one time when they brought me back round and they said, "Did you mean to do it? Like, was you trying to kill yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah." But that's the dark depths that addiction can take you to.
You've tried to take your own life.
I've tried to do it a few times, Ross, man. A few times. There's been 3 times.
Okay.
You know, one was more a cry for help in jail. That was the wrists went through the tendons and whatnot. Another time was medication, and then there was another one where there was like firearms and that involved. Do you know what I mean? So there has been them times.
Really?
Yeah, there has been them times. My brother who brought me up today, only recently, I should imagine it was probably not even a year back, he's had to come and basically kick my door off, and I'm in the right state, and go through, take boxes and boxes and boxes of medication, you know. So I'm not one of these people that, you know, is just going to bullshit and just say, "Oh, I've dealt with my mental health and I'm moving forward." But I just know I've got the right people around me.
It's an ongoing thing, mate.
It's ongoing
Yeah.
every day.
It's a great thing to highlight, Chris. It's a point I like to make, because when we talk about mental health, a lot of the time you talk about these stories and it has the depth, and then it has the, like, you know, the Disney story, you know, like, oh, now it's all better. But the reality is it's like a mountain range. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up. There's peaks and troughs. And, you know, like life, let's be honest, mate, life is fucking hard. Do you know what I mean? And it's those moments, and it's that phone call you weren't expecting that gets you out of the blue. It's the things you're not prepared for that take you off your feet, and then you have to battle again. You know, you're back down in the trenches. You've got to work your way through.
It's just like a comfort blanket, isn't it? If you know that you can go and sit somewhere and forget about the person that you was and all the chaos and carnage that you've done, that then becomes your comfort blanket, because you've caused that much chaos and carnage. You just don't want to think about it. And you're like, well, I'll just go get shit faced, you know. But it's only when you come through that and you actually, and it's been a long time now. Like I've had no like major addiction in my life for nearly, I don't know, 7 or 8 years or something like that. But that's where I was talking about. If you want to find peace, sometimes it's not a peaceful process. You know, sometimes to find peace, it isn't a peaceful process. If you're trying to find peace from some sort of half peaceful situation, if you caused a lot of shit and you've been a bit of an arsehole or a lot of an arsehole, don't expect putting the pieces back together to be a nice process. But if you instill hope, faith, and the love of the people around you and all the rest of it, you can do it. You know, it can be done. And a bit of resilience and just knowing. A lot of people go through life trying to find out who they are. They're like, I want to know who I am, And it's like a fucking game of hide and seek, look here, there and everywhere. I had to do it the other way around. I had to find out who I wasn't and then fucking destroy that person because I didn't want to be that person. But in finding, and I know this is going to sound mad, in finding out who I wasn't, I then found out who I truly was. But first I had to go to the wasn't to find the was, you know? And in that process, there's loads of stories, you know? There's loads. And I'm not talking East Enders, Carnage Street. It's real stuff, real people, real message, real consequences, you know? And a real change to be able to change it round, you know?
Oh, mate, I've seen... First thing that got my attention was your video you put on Instagram about your scar. And you're talking about consequences, like that's a real fucking consequence, isn't it? Let's take a quick break there to thank our headline sponsors, Zinza. And let's talk about Zinza's Perma White. Zinza Perma White is a self-priming, mould-resistant interior wall paint. It isn't just available in white, it can be tinted to any colour at selected stockists. It has trace VOCs and a scrubbable formula that's designed to resist cracking, peeling and blistering for up to 7 years, making Zinza Perma White the perfect choice when you're looking for an all-purpose finish for kitchens, bathrooms and high humidity areas. Go and check it out. Big thank you again to Zinza, and let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, it is. That was another 2 seconds. Well, the actual action was a 2 second decision, but there's probably only about 5 minutes of planning or something. And then,
Are you happy to talk about that situation? No pressure, my man.
No, I think we'll leave that one. Is that all right?
Yeah,
but
no,
what I will
course,
say
100%.
is, like now, like I pretty much own it. Like I've always got a smile on my face. I know, so I'm always smiling. So that's the way I have to claim some of it back. At first, it used to bother me because I was one of them guys who's like, "Oh my God, my face" and all the rest of it. But it went by, and it was a 2 second decision where.
Girls love a man with a scar
they
anyway,
do.
Kristen.
But it's not like, you see, I'll tell you what happened on the socials, Rush, yeah, is I put that up and you don't know how many people come with the word wronging, nonce and all the rest of it. But because that's the way society is, they judge, yeah? But that's why the page is called No Judgment. Because I don't mind the thingy, but let them judge, because then when you put the story out there, you've always got to be prepared for like 5% of people like that.
Do you know what, mate? I'll be honest. My first reaction, I thought football was what I thought. Because I thought Chelsea smile.
Yeah,
that was where my head went.
Yeah. I can play a good Joker part at Halloween, so it's not too bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not somewhere, because like there's too many stories for us about all that chaos and carnage, like. But I know that the chaos and carnage led me to where I am today, and I'm thankful for that.
How dark did it get, mate? I mean, were there times where you were fearing for your life, or like how bad did it get at the depths of it?
There was times when I had some depths at my house, the depths of the stuff that, like transcripts that come from the police, you know.
Okay.
Of like what people, like certain situations that have happened. And there was a time when somebody they were willing to shoot me for a McDonald's. you know, it was actually, and it's there in black and white.
Shoot you over a McDonald's?
No, for a McDonald's.
Oh,
They were going to shoot me because like I was causing chaos and carnage and basically taking money off of people that I shouldn't be taking money off. So then obviously there's a whole story to it, and I won't get into it because it doesn't deserve the time to go into it. But yeah, there was times like that. There was times when people had tried to actively like kill me. There was times when we've never done it, but there's been times where we've sat there and thought we've been in a situation where we might have to do that. It never happened. Let me put that out there. And then the saddest part of it is all that gone from people wanting to do it to me thinking about with a little team of people that I was with thinking about doing it with other people to then at the end of the spectrum to me trying to take my own life. So that's that's what happens, you see. It's like what I got to realise is my shelf life when I got out was getting shorter and shorter. So the first time I went away, I got out, I stayed out for 11 months. And then I got out, I stayed out for maybe 10 months to the point, and then something chaos would happen and I'd be back in to the point where it got to one stage where I'd been out 6 days and there's a cardiac arrest and I was in hospital. Do you know what I mean? It's just madness, drug related. It's just, I don't want to think into it too much, but it's just what I'm trying to say is if you don't get a hold of that badness, eventually that badness would be the end of it.
Mate, well, it's the old saying, isn't it? You end up dead or in prison.
Yeah,
there's truth to that, mate.
100% truth, or dead in prison.
Yeah.
That's the other spin on it. Do you know what I mean? You either end up dead or in prison, or you go to prison and end up dead.
What was the biggest sentence that you did?
So, done, I think I got it's 4 year 9 for some violence that happened. Some lads end up getting his legs broke on a curb and whatnot. But then when I went away, I don't like bullies. So then somebody ended up getting hot water, sugar and jam chucked in their face, kicked him, and got battered all around the landing. But that's because this guy was a bully and lads had tried to hang themselves, lads were cutting their wrists and nobody would do nothing about it. You know, they were just letting this guy get away with it. And like there was an incident that happened in some showers. There was me and 3 of them, and I just thought, this ain't happening again. So then basically he screamed in front of the whole like dinner area. So then everybody knew that's what happens to a bully, you know. So yeah. So I got an outside charge for that. I got an extra 2 years on my sentence.
It's a harsh line, mate. But I mean, it's a different. I've never been inside, mate, so I can't comment. But I would imagine it's a culture and society of its own. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
different set of rules and all that much.
And then I want to pull it back into the light, mate.
Yes.
You know?
Let's get talking. Because you know what, I'll be honest with you. Like, I shared with you before, I've recently done a few things and that, and like, it's hard to go back there sometimes.
I can see that, mate. I can see that. I said this before. I think there's so much value in it, though, because to see, I think sometimes...
Because you're sort of like, you're there, and when you're talking about it.
I can see that.
You know, that's what happens.
Sometimes, though, Chris, to see where you are now, to put it in context, you have to see where you were.
Yeah, I understand
and
that.
To see where you've come from, and I appreciate you opening up, mate. So I thank you for that, mate.
Yeah, nice one.
But I do want to talk about all the incredible work that you did. In fact, let's start at the beginning of the light.
Okay.
I guess there must have been a turning point, mate. Enough is enough.
So, got to the... So my kids are 28 and 23. So I've got 2 boys, 2 beautiful, well, they're not boys, they're grown-ass men. They've got more hair on their face than I have. So, but they're good lads. And then I've got my grandson as well. So then I was like, what am I going to pass down to these? Chaos and carnage and crime and all that? Or am I going to stand up and be counted and make some changes? So then I wanted to get out and I wanted to educate kids about 2-second decisions because I was aware of how these 2 seconds of decisions affected my life. So I just had a passion. I wanted to, if I could get into the kids now, they'd be 20 years ahead of me because they know about this when I've only just sussed it out. I thought, I found out something here, and like, Einstein and all that type of stuff. Managed to get my talks into the schools about crime rehabilitation and punishment, and got a little bit in there about 2-second decision. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'll give back now. But that wasn't the end of the story, Russ, brother. Like, when I got out, obviously...
So we're talking about 4 years ago now, mate.
It was
aren't
4
we?
years ago. Would have been
Or-
4 years ago. Just recently. Actually, I got to do something really good on the same day that I was out. I really appreciate it. It seemed to just all fit in nicely. But I had an amazing... Same day that I got out, I got to share a story as well with a gentleman. But then I thought that was my calling, you know. I'm going to get around the schools and I'm going to educate the kids. And
What response do you get in the schools?
oh, at first, so it was to do with the religious education side of it. So what it was to show how criminals and what they get up to, what it leads to, addiction and all that type of stuff. So they got shown one set of videos about that life. And then there was another set of videos, but it was obviously giving, and let me just put this out there now, you are not going to end up with a Bible in your back pocket when I leave here. But I am a Christian fella, but I'm a different type of Christian. Yeah, I'm still a Christian. I believe Jesus was on Pentecost, and I believe that he the miracles, I believe all that. But what I'm saying is, I'm a different type of Christian. You're not going to end up with a Bible in your back pocket, but I will tell you about hope. Well, I will speak to you about hope. I will speak to you about faith. I will speak to you about belief. Yeah, and I will just let you know that he has moved mountains in my life, you know.
When did you first find God, Chris? Were you always religious? Or?
I've been a Christian since I was a kid, but then I went wayward and went all worldly and just become selfish and all that type of stuff. And when I come back to my faith, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be, man.
What was the point where you came back?
It was obviously in the system. In the system, and I was just like, you got plenty of time to read, and I read a little bit of scripture, and then from that scripture, it was just like, it was about sin and about actions and about it leading to death and all that. Sin starts off as a thought. When that thought is conceived, it gives birth to destruction. Eventually, that destruction will be the death of man. I thought, fuck me, man, that's my life. I had a sinful thought in my head. I put some more brain to it. Next thing, that was conceived because I put the brain to it. Then it led to destruction. And then there's been, I won't get into it, but there's been loads of things that have happened where it has nearly been the death of me. That's a whole different type of like mad share. But like, yeah. So then I thought, yeah, really. And then I started to get into it a bit more. And there's another bit in there that says, so you got a ship, you got a boat, but how small is the thing that controls that boat? It's the rudder. It's the smallest member. The smallest part on a boat is the rudder. You know, that says which ways it goes through the ocean. But then it puts the boat to your tongue and says that's what your tongue is. It says your whole body can be mooching forward and doing good. So your legs, your arms, but there's one thing that can divide it all, the words that come out your mouth. So you have to basically, and I thought about it, read some more, and then I read where it says, let the words that leave your mouth give life and not death. So that's what it says, obviously, on my socials and stuff like that. And then I thought about it more and thought, yeah, that is what it's about. You can either give life or give death with your words. So when I was surrounded with whatever's and doing whatever's and all the chaos and carnage, the words that leave in my mouth weren't giving life. When I did talk, when I wasn't saying no comment, but then switched it up and I thought, I need to let these words start giving life, man. Because my words weren't just giving death to myself, they're giving death to everybody else around me as well. Not literally death, but, you know, just in, you know, thingy terms. So, yeah, there's there's 1,000 stories that I could tell you, like, where he saved me. And there really is, and it's just not coincidence. I just used to think I was lucky all the time. I fucking hell. My old dear used to say to me, because from down south, she said, bloody hell, you not just got bloody 9 lives. She said, you got like that bag of cats with like, you got a bag of cats in there with like, God knows how many lives. Oh, you won't see 16. I'm like, oh, Mum, I'm 16. Oh, you won't see 18. Says I'm 18. But yeah, I spent most of them in jail, but I still got to that age. And it's just like, I think you get to a certain age as a bloke, and if you've lived that life, you think, I've got to give back, you know. I can't just keep taking from society, Rush, you know. You can't keep being that guy. But then with all that, there has to be ownership. You got to own stuff. You got to be truthful. You got to be forgiving. You have to forgive the people, not just for the stuff that you've done, but you have to forgive people for stuff that they've done. If you've lived that shit life, been some pretty bad acts of violence where the head, so we rewind, where I said we might have planned to do whatever to people because whatever's happened to me. So I had to forgive those people, but it set me free. Yeah, they weren't in my mind no more, you know. And there's no better feeling than going up to someone.
Do you ever worry now, Chris, that anything from your past will come back at you or pull you back into that life?
Not from my past, no. No, I don't, because it's pretty much if anything, any bad violent act that's ever happened to me, no one's ever had any charges. So I just used to be, because we was in that life, it would be like, well, if I come for you, I just want the same treatment. I haven't gone for them, so sort of like an unwritten thing, isn't it? You know, there's been no charges. It's like you live in that life. It's bound to happen, all that type of stuff. So no, I don't. If anything, what will come back to haunt me sometimes in my dreams. So like the other 3 nights ago, when you're waking up having mad anxiety attacks, and you're having to open all your doors and windows, and you're pacing up and down your front room like it's a jail cell. That's where it comes back. That's where your past comes back to get you. Sometimes in your dreams, and sometimes like PTSD, basically.
It is, man.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
I think they say if you've done over a decade in the system, then that is enough for it to
Chris, the definition, so obviously I studied psychology, as you know, so they have something called the DSM, which is like the medical definition of PTSD, essentially. Because PTSD is a relatively it's not a new thing, but it's a relatively newly recognised thing.
Okay.
Started off with what they used to refer to as shell shock for veterans. Yeah. It wasn't called PTSD, they used to call it shell shock. Because once it got classified as PTSD, it then became essentially, the world revolves around money, doesn't it? Once you can diagnose it as a condition, it then gave people recompense to go back and say, we want compensation.
Okay.
But the definition of PTSD, because it's a relatively new thing in terms of the history of psychology, has been updated continually. And PTSD can be caused by either experiencing a situation where you fear that you are going to lose your life, or that you fear a loved one is going to lose their life. That is enough to give you PTSD. So given the life that you've been through, mate, I would imagine there are definitely things that would have put you in that position.
Yeah. You got a big rucksack to carry around with you, I know that for that much. A rucksack full of all sorts of bits and bobs. Do you know what I mean? And when I say bits and bobs, like, just dark stuff sometimes.
You ever spoken to anyone professional?
No, to be quite honest. And then, but then there was a charge once upon a time when I was away, and I had to have psychologists and psychiatrists come in and all the rest of it. And what they done is they go through a series of questions, and they ask you about your childhood. They ask you about the things you've seen. And I'm sure what it boiled down to was, what they said is, how I accept violence is not normal. So he had a violent disorder. Yeah, so how I accept violence is it just happens sometimes. You know, that's the way that stuff gets sorted out. Like, it's normal to see certain stuff.
Yeah.
So then there was something like, but it didn't have me out in court, so it didn't do me no favours. But that's what I did say. But I've never seen no professionals, no. Like, I have got some really good people around me now, like in the Breath of Life.
So what you guys are doing is like therapy anyway.
Yeah, well, it's a living, breathing database of awareness and understanding. You can't buy
to an
that
extent,
stuff.
though, Chris, as well. The more that you talk about this, that is therapeutic in itself. The more you exercise those demons, the more you put it out there. It's therapeutic in itself. You know.
What I say is, there's only one way to get rid of any darkness, and that is to talk about it.
Yeah,
but you know how it is. It's like, you might be a fitness instructor, and it's all well and good telling people to have this diet and have that diet, when really at home you're having a pizza and a KFC and all the rest of it. So, like, I have got an understanding of it, and know how to project it onto other people, but sometimes to absorb it is a different situation, isn't it? Projecting something and trying to help somebody else is different to you absorbing what you're saying.
Maybe we all heal at a different rate, you know. There's stuff like myself, man.
You got me there, you know, because I haven't really. I don't know talking and that is something. I've had someone in my corner telling me I need to go do a bit.
I haven't personally. I've never been for any kind of professional therapy. I self-therapize. I don't fucking say that word. You know what I'm trying to say. I gave myself self-therapy by learning. So I jumped into education and started learning and studying. But there's things that I'd buried. I sat here on Saturday, mate, with another guest who shared an experience of theirs, which won't repeat because it's theirs. I mean, it's in the podcast. But I remembered something that I had done that I'd completely buried, mate. Completely buried. It was just like a light bulb, you know?
Especially as men, just burying stuff. Yeah, especially. And it's like an unwanted skill that we've got.
It is, maybe it's a dangerous one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I always say, like, it's better to go into your head with someone else because it's dangerous to go in there by yourself. You know what I mean? It's say if you try to sit there, like, for instance, when I used to go in my head all the time when I was away, it's a dangerous place to go because I only had my view in it, my thoughts and my actions. Sometimes if you go in there by yourself too many times, it becomes an unsafe space, you know?
Honestly, mate, I've seen, because like I say, I've looked at your socials and you've talked to me about Breath of Life. The group that you guys have got together now, mate, that's what's needed, you know? So let's go to the origin of that, yeah? Because it's not just Breath of Life that you do, is it? You've got various things that you do mostly through the week, mate.
Yeah, we do, so...
But let's go back to the origins of your...
Go on.
I guess the turning point where you decided that you were going to take your traumas and experiences and then help other men, and how that's been, and the difference that's made.
All right, Russ, I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't think that's what I'd be getting up to. Yeah, I didn't at first. But then what happened is a friend of mine seen what I was putting on my socials before the No Judgment page.
So what made you do that then, Chris? Like, because
I believe that
you've been so open on your socials. Like, what made you post that first video?
There was a page before, but it was just Chris Booth, 1981, and I was sort of going down a road, and then we had like a canoeing trip with a Breath of Life. Obviously, I capsized the canoe, lost my phone, couldn't remember none of my iCloud passwords, and there was still a little bit of dodginess. I don't want to say dodginess, I don't mean crime. Some people in that phone that wasn't bringing no fruit to my table. So I was, in a way, I'm like, all right, big man, maybe I need to get rid of the phone. I lost all my contacts. And I thought, I need to set another one up. But then this time, I felt it was time to get a story out there. You know, it's like, not everybody wakes up looking 100% every single day. We all struggle. We all just have different struggles, you know. Let's put it out there. Isn't that a real story? You know, if I say, and I don't do this because I ain't got the money to do it, and I'm not really into it, I'm happy with fish and chips. Everyone's the best restaurants, the best clothes, the fastest car, and all the rest of it. All that. Where is it when you wake up in the morning and you've got 2 pennies to rub together? Where is it when you're back on the jail food and eating tuna with noodles, you know, or a crisp sandwich? You know, where's the salad cream sandwiches? Where have they gone?
Mate, you can't beat them though, can you?
Do you know what I mean? Everyone's on caviar and all that type of stuff. That's all bullshit. I wanted it to be a real page. And then luckily for me, through my old Insta, I managed to make some really good, met some really big bits of light. So I mentioned a couple of people earlier, you know, that have really been a massive beacon of light in my corner. I've got to say it, the Mindset Soldier has been a massive beacon of light in my corner.
I've seen his stuff, mate. I'd love to sit down with him, to be fair.
He's amazing.
Absolutely fantastic, yeah.
And he helped me just to be real, man. And just say, listen, you've got a story, like, let's get it out there. And not let's get it out there, but just be you know. People can see it. And I thought, right, the No Judgment thing. But in between all that, that's just the way to just be real, just get the story out there, you know. The story that there is shadows, there is light, but in between it, they're mixing them ingredients: hope, faith, love, and you can make a change. I know there's loads of people out there that either know someone or are going through or know someone that's going through that similar chaos and similar carnage, and they probably lost a little bit of hope that they're just never going to change. Wanted to show that that's not the case. You know, that there should always be hope. Hope is literally the anchor for your soul, Russ. That's what anchors your soul. Hope. Yeah. You know, someone's poorly. You keep hold of that hope that they're going to get better. You know, you're going for that new job. Yeah. And your hope, that's the anchor for it. You know, that you keep hoping. People manifest, people do this, they do it to the universe, do it to that. I just associate it with a different thing. You know, I give all glory back up to the big man. Yeah. And like I said, you're not going to end up with a Bible in your back pocket. But I've got 1,000 stories that I can tell you, so we'll be here forever. You know what I'm like.
I respect it anyway.
Yeah,
like, personally, I'm not religious.
Yeah,
but I've studied religion. So I went through a stage, mate. I studied Buddhism. I've studied philosophy.
Buddhism, I went down that road for a bit. I couldn't get past the chiming in the Josh thing. I couldn't get past it. It was all right. He had a cup of tea and a biscuit as well, so it was all right whilst I was away. But
I've never practiced it. I've just studied some of the teachings.
Yeah.
When you mention the soul, actually, mate, one of my favourite quotes, I've got it tattooed on my leg. It's actually on this T-shirt here, and it reads, it was said by a Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius.
Come on, if you're a bloke, you know, go on.
The soul becomes dyed by the colour of its thoughts. Now, you were talking about hope, and that's it. So the colour of your thoughts, if they're dark thoughts, that's going to dye your soul dark.
Yeah.
If they're light thoughts, they're going to dye your soul light.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And to me, that saying, what that reflects is that everything is within your mind. I'm going to pause there to thank this episode's sponsors, Abode Academy. Abode offer practical-based spray courses in Wiltshire and Manchester. They teach airless spraying, kitchen and furniture spraying, UPVC spraying, special effects including metal and workshop refurbishment courses. I myself have been on their airless course and I really enjoyed it. They teach in small groups, so it's a laid-back environment and very hands-on, loads of time on the sprayers. Their courses are approved by the Construction Industry Training Board, otherwise known as CITB, so you know you're getting good quality training. They offer full aftercare support and have their own range of spray equipment, which is top quality at affordable prices, and the aftercare they give is nothing short of amazing. If you're thinking of getting into spraying, you can check out their website at www.abodeacademy.co.uk, or you can search them up at Abode Academy on Instagram, as they post loads of helpful spraying content with tips and tricks. Thanks to the team at Abode Academy for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's get back to the episode. Whatever you think is true, do you know what I mean? Your reality in your mind, if you think today, genuinely 1,000,000%, you think the sky is purple, then it's fucking purple in your world, you know? So the power of the control and working on your thoughts, your mindset, your processes mentally, that's everything.
So what I come to understand is you might mooch around thinking that you're free, like, excuse me, so you got out of jail, a bit of fish and chips. So you got out of jail, you're a free member and all the rest of it, but you can still put yourself in a prison cell in your mind. It's your thoughts and your actions.
1,000,000%.
Every shit thought that you have, bump. There's another bar on that prison, on that jail cell. Another thought, bump. Before you know it, bam, 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 bam. They're all around your head. Before you know it, you've had that many bad thoughts. You've got a set of keys, but these set of keys ain't letting you out. They're keeping you in. You know, so you have to switch it up. What you just said then about the soul and the light and the dark, there is a little bit. There's a little tiny bit of scripture that goes in line with what you say, and what it says is what we need to do.
You manage that, Jay? I think you have
First time you can open the door.
It's all right, don't worry. Somebody's trying to escape the studio.
Oh no, yeah.
Got it?
So
sorry, mate.
What it says is make sure that your heart is more parts dark than it is light. So what I got from that is. He knows as people, as human beings, I'm not just talking as blokes, just as human beings in general, we all carry darkness around us. Yeah? We've all got a bit of darkness. But what he's trying to say is, make sure that your heart is more parts light than it is dark, because it's the light that's going to bring you life to your situation. So, you got me on one now. Right, so then what runs in line with that is where it says, a merry heart is like medicine for your soul. That's in Proverbs. So if you've got a merry heart, it's going to bring medicine to your soul. Because we're on this page now, what you just said about the soul, Marcus Aurelius, and what he says. So it's similar. So then what it says is, make sure that your heart is more part of light than it is dark, and a merry heart is like medicine for the soul. So if your heart is more parts dark than it is light, that's not going to bring no goodness to the table. But then in line with that, what's the opposite to a merry heart is like medicine for the soul? If you haven't got a merry heart, it's not going to bring no goodness to your soul. If you've got a bitter, resentful, that's always looking for a problem and always looking for chaos and always looking for chaos, that's not going to bring no goodness to your soul. It's just going to, well, you know what the opposite to it is. It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
So then I was like, it wasn't he come down on a bloody white cloud with his staff and said, oh, Christopher, I've got a plan for you. And all. No, fuck all that. I just knew. It made sense. It says that the words in there, the living, breathing words of I call him the big man, but God. Yeah. So when they were living and they were breathing to me that time. So for instance, so what we're doing, obviously we're going to get to talk about the breath of life. But so it says, I will make your sorrows into joy, my child. Yeah? I was like, so down on our manor, we got somewhere called the Wrekin, which is like a mini hill. So I'm at the top of the Wrekin. I got my sorrows. They're on a big ass toilet roll like this. Yeah? I've rolled them down. They can just keep rolling and rolling and rolling till they're like, I'm my mum and dad's door 10 mile away. Saying, oh yeah, I'm Chris's sorrows, what's going on? You know, taking him to mum and dad's door, and it's causing chaos at their house as well, yeah? I was like, how the fuck am I meant to get any joy from this? But then what everybody thinks is that it's your sorrows and your joy. What happens if your sorrows, all the bad shit that's happened in your life, you can somehow be a part of the process of helping other people not to make their decisions, not to take that direction, then it's your sorrows that becomes their joy. It just made sense to me. I just knew I had to give back. I just knew I wasn't here to cause chaos and carnage. I knew that was a process that I had to go through to gain the awareness and gain the understanding without going to university, without doing all that, without getting a degree. It's called living experience, like I was saying to you before. Yeah? And then from that, then I was like, yeah, all right. So then I got out. I was the God man. So I went away, this bloody whatever, causing chaos and carnage. Next thing, baby's got out of jail, he's a God man. At first, everyone's taking the piss for us. Praise the Lord, they're saying when I get off the train. Yeah? Oh, right, and they're going past, and every now and then I'll go through town. Praise the Lord, baby, what's happening? I was like, yeah, all right then. But then they realised it wasn't a phase. In between all this, I'm sharing stuff, not on my Insta at the time, it's Facebook. One of my friends, a very good friend, I didn't know him as long as what some people knew him, but I feel I was the right friend at the right time, and we had the right conversations. And that was Ricky Briffer. And he said, Beavy, we've got a few lads coming down to the river, we're doing a bit of a cold dip and that. He's like, fancy coming down? I says, what time? He says, about 5:30. Fuck that, Ricky. You're getting me in cold water at 5:30 in the morning. Fucking you mad. I said, don't get up to it now. I'm up at 5 a.m. Don't go in cold water, but it's just like part of my clock now, 5 a.m. gym and get best start to the day. And then so it gets down there. A few bits and bobs happen. There's a few lads down there. Comes back. I'm like, fucking hell, man, I feel good. Yeah. And then from that, then, same lad, Ricky, took us. He said, I know a group of lads. I says, oh yeah. And he was a bit of a boy. He was involved with the football and all that, shall we say. He says, I've got a group of lads. He says they have like a talking circle thing up at the Wrekin. You know, so the same place I'm on about the joys and the sorrows. It's like a little bit of a landmarky thing on the manor. He says you do like a talking circle up there. I says, all right. He says good lads. It's called the Man They Meet Up from Wolves.
I've heard of it, mate.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. Russ, they are an amazing brotherhood of lads. Very similar, in a different way, but very similar to where... But the story makes sense in a minute. So then, it says, we goes to this talking circle. Walking back down. Me and Ricky, looks like he's bigger than me. He's a fucking giant of a man. Big, like, massive heart on him. He goes, I said, you should fucking get this on. We should do the same thing. In the process of this, there was talk about another group, and the other group did get set up. But now there's separate groups. It's a good thing because there's more safe spaces popping up everywhere, and there are more chances to get through to that one person. So there was some goodness at the end of it all. And then we created a talking circle in the other group, and then on this talking circle there was loads of change happening. We sat on the first one, and afterwards looked at Rick and I went, fucking hell, bro, man. I said, that's the first talking circle. And like, this is where the rule comes from. What goes on in talking circle stays in talking circle.
Explain the talking circle, mate. What happens in a talking circle?
Basically, there's a few just minor rules. We call them rules. They're not even rules. Just things we like to stick by. Rules makes it seem like it's, I don't know, some sort of dictatorship or something like that. It's not. It's relationships, But so you go in. You can either have a positive share, negative share. You don't have to share. You can just sit there and chill out and just listen to what the lads are saying. Right, you get your phone. My phone's like, it's over there. So you get your phone. If you're expecting a phone call, something important, and that, just stick your phone on silent, lads. Because like when people are sharing, if you get some ringtones are mad, aren't they? You're halfway through a deep share, and it just puts you off. But then, main thing is as well that what goes on in this talking circle, excuse me, bloody fish and chips. What goes on at this talking circle stays at a talking circle. Because what does that create then? Trust. And trust is a must, Russ. Yeah? From when men know they can come, sit down at a table and bring their darkness that we was just talking about to the table and it not go no further, then it opens the door for them to share something a little bit deeper, layers and layers and layers and layers. And then what we say at the end, we say we have a break at 7 o'clock. So what goes on at Talking Circle stays at Talking Circle. So we use me as an example. I rock up to Talking Circle, and this would never happen. Well, I'm an addict to choose not to pick up, so I just will put it out there, but I don't want it to happen, yeah? So I go, thing is, fucking, I fucked up, lads, man. I went home the other night and fucking ended up getting on the pipe, blah, blah, blah. So then, on a break time, one of the lads might come up to me and go, you know what, Beavy? Chris, I know someone that might be able to help you out with this. And it's not stars. You don't have to go see stars. You don't have to go to Jug Out. I know someone that might be able to help you out here. Am I all right mentioning you to this person? I'll go, you know what, man? I think I'd appreciate that, brother. Boom, consent's given. That's the only time stuff gets shared, if you get consent from the person. Yeah. So then what we do then, we go around. And what that does is, that's the foundation of what we do at Breath for Life. So Breath for Life, this is the one person, that's a mountain in the back. This one person on the front here. So that stands for a couple of things. First and foremost, that's our brother that started the other group that I was a part of. But he lost his battle with mental health for us.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah, it's like, he's still about, he's here now, bro, because I'm a believer, I know that he is. So I'm blessed.
You're carrying him forward into everything you're doing, man.
When he left the breath and a beat. Yeah, it's what you do with that breath and a beat, and you have to take it forward. People take it forward in different ways, in different motions, and all that type of stuff. But the talking circle is bump. That he was there was at the front of the table, and then it's just that was his thing, and so that stands for the one person. And then behind it is a mountain, and that's the mountain that you might have to conquer. Yeah, but there's not just one mountain. It's like so it goes in line with what you said earlier, ups and downs. It's a mountain range. So you got the one person. So it might be put towards, obviously, our fallen brother, our Ricky Briffer. But what it also means is that's where it starts. You're that one person. You're that one person that has to make that decision to get through the door at the talking circle. You're that one person that has to make that decision to say, I'm ready to say I'm not okay. I'm ready to say that. So and then the other spaces that we got, what it does is it creates relationships on different levels. So for instance, the talking circle can get deep sometimes. But what we say is, You can have a positive share, negative share. So there's loads of positive shares on the table, but sometimes you have some really, really, really deep shares, man, where you come away and you just think, wow. And what that does then is when you got a group of men sat down there and there's a living, breathing database of awareness at that table. And say, for instance, you might share something and then 5 down the line, it comes to me. But what you shared has empowered me because I've been going through something very similar, but I didn't want to tell no one about it. But then when you sat down, Russ, and you shared that with me, that's then empowered me to be able to go, yeah, man, this is a safe space. I know that I can share my shit at this table. I know that I don't have to carry this rucksack of bullshit on my back. Do you know what I mean? You know how it is, Russ, yeah? You've done it. You've done the degree and you've got an awareness because you struggled yourself. What we do is we wake up in the morning and we've got, say it how it is, you've got a rucksack of bullshit on your back, yeah? You go to work, say, well, we know what it's like on the construction site. You go to work and it's like, Russ, you all right today? You're like, yeah, man, I'm fucking sound, man, how are you? Then you go home, your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whatever it might be. Are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. But no, man, you're not all right, brother. You got a rucksack of all sorts on your back, stuff going through your mind that you don't want no one to talk to. So what we do, and I'm going to relate it to what I was just saying, what we do is we try and pack that rucksack. Yeah, so we try get rid of the darkness that is the rucksack. Then from that darkness, what it does then is leaves a little space for some light, Russ. Yeah, the space might only just be that big. But then what do you do with that space? You fill it up. How do you fill it up? By awareness, by understanding, by letting people know that there's hope, by letting people know that they need to believe in the people around them, by letting people know that it's good to say to someone, are you all right today, bro? Do you need a hug? Yeah? We're from the 80s, yeah? So way back when, in Fred Flintstone days, yeah, or Yabba Dabba Doo and all that type of stuff, what we used to do is we revert back into our granddads, yeah? We say, right, we're going to have a cup of tea and some fresh air. Cup of tea will help you out because it's got about 10 sugars in it. So the sugar's going to knock you out like a monster does these days, brings you right up, yeah? The fresh air, as you know, scientifically proven, get on the outside and all the rest of it. But really, yeah...
It's a man-up generation, Chris, wasn't it? Was what it was.
It's madness.
You know?
Yeah, but we don't need to revert back into our granddads. It's 2025. The new superpower is your thoughts and your feelings and to be able to talk about them. So that's what goes on at the talking circle. But then, long way around it because you're talking to me, yeah? But then, like, the other stuff we do, like Forest and Fellowship, Saturday morning, we go down, we got the water. There's another tick in the box, you know it is, being by water. You're in nature. You walk through the woods. You can before you even get to the spot, you can hear everybody having a laugh and that. You can smell the sandwiches. So we've got the bacon sausage sandwiches and we got the vegan sausages there as well for the lads that don't eat meat, yeah? Got the coffees going. But then it's different to the talking circle because, like I said, we try to build relationships and friendships on all different levels. So here... we have a bit more banter about what we might have been getting up to, and there's a bit more jesty and stuff like that. But then what we're aware of is that if the man's going through stuff in the house, generally, if the man's going through it, there's some sort of partner, a wife or girlfriend or kids, a family member that's suffering as well because they're suffering. So then we've got something called Plant and Prosper, which is a community garden, which is an allotment space where they can where you can go down there, grow all your own bits and bobs. But then at the same time, you can bring your families down there. We have community barbecues and stuff like that.
That's beautiful.
So then what you do is, if the man's suffering, then his other family then get to see the people that he's around that's making him a better person when he goes through the door. Then it makes it a family project, you know? And then we've got something called Trek and Tranquility. Absolutely great space. You bring your family members there as well. You know, we've got something called Release and Reset. So what we try to do, it's a fitness side of things, you know, but it's not fitness for all levels. You ain't got to come there and be bloody Mr. Triathlon or anything like that. You can rock up at any level because luckily for us, one of the facilitators, that's his game. He's in the fitness industry. Kalita Fitness, he's in the fitness industry. So we can micromanage to how you're doing it, get them endorphins flowing, release and reset. We want you to come, release all that bad energy and reset with the endorphins, you know. And then so we got Talking Circle, Unload and Uplift. We've got Plan and Prosper. We've got Release and Reset, Trek and Tranquility. And then we've got a few other little things that we're trying to get in at the moment. But
can I just say though, mate, like, massive respect for you doing all that, because that's a fucking lot. It's more than the average person is doing for their fellow man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a massive respect to you, man. It's people, the world needs more people, more men willing to take on that space and help each other.
Do you know where the big passion comes from, brother? You know, so like, I'll be honest with you, Russia. There was people in Ricky's life that knew him for a lot longer than I did. But that guy literally was a spark that lit the fire in me, that knew and made me feel that this is what I need to be a part of. Suicide, it's the biggest killer of us men.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to be a part of that process, to try and to not do that? And when you see someone as his life and soul, do you know what I mean? He's a jester, man. He got into a bit of chaos as well, but he was a jester, you know. When you see someone like that, and then you see they're not that case because they're in the morgue, and then, you know, you're carrying him on your shoulder because there was a conversation, and you question, I did this conversation, what was it, and all that type of stuff. It's better to create safe spaces for men than carrying them on your shoulder. You know, that's what it's all about. 100%.
That's what they say, mate, innit? I'd rather you cry on my shoulder than have to carry you on my shoulder.
Well, there you go then. There you go. Yeah. It's not about that. So then, like, I believe when people go and they've had an effect on your life, and they've like, you know, and they've had an effect, like a heartfelt, and you've had them conversations. When they go, they leave you a breath and a beat. So off camera, we had a little conversation before this, and you shared with me and said, talk to, and a few things that happened, and like, I felt what you were saying. I could feel the passion behind what you're doing, and then I just knew that them people that you was talking about, when they went, they left you a breath and a beat, bro. And what did you do with that breath and a beat? Give them a mention every now and then. No, you went out there and you created the Talking Tradesman, where you're raising awareness about it, because it's something that you're passionate about. When you're passionate about something, it's not even graft. It's just what
do you know what it is, mate? It's purpose.
Yeah, purpose.
That's what it is.
Turn your pain into purpose.
I'll be honest with you, mate. Up until I was 31, I'll share a little bit with you. Up until I was 31, I'd have been that geezer. If you would have said to me, Russ, how's your mental health? I'd have gone, ain't got it, mate. Oh, what the fuck? I ain't got it. I'm fine. Lad culture, mate. You know, partying every weekend. Football, rugby was my thing. Never ever looked into it, and then obviously went through my own personal situation that made me look into it, and I went on my own journey. But the changing point for me was when I started volunteering at Samaritans, and I did it, if I'm honest with you, Chris, I'm being completely honest, I did it because I wanted to see what it would be like, because I didn't know how I would feel having to take on somebody else's crisis and trauma. Could I leave that there? Or would I take it home? Would I take it home to my family now? And, you know, went to do it, and I remember I did a few shifts and left the place, man. It's a strange one, because people would say to you, did you have a good shift? It's like, how do you have a good shift when you're dealing with people that are talking about taking their own life? But I know what it meant after doing it, because you walk out of there, mate, having hopefully prevented somebody from taking that step. And it ticked a box for me. It gave me a purpose I didn't know I needed. I didn't know I needed it until I experienced it. And that has led to being here today. It's just been an extension of that, which, by the sounds of it with you, you've gone through a similar sort of thing where you've felt that purpose, and then you've grabbed it with both hands and gone,
feel it.
This is me.
Totally feel it. It's like, whilst there's a breath in my body, I'm going to try my hardest to give back, you know. Whilst there's a breath in my body, I want to be like, don't wish, but I'm not able to do this by myself. I've got a great team of people around me, you know. There's no leaders in Breath of Life. It's team. What we say is we move as one body. So if you're struggling, we're going to struggle with you, bro. Yeah? If you're shining, we want to shine with you. Yeah? It's not about being down in the trenches and saying, oh, what you doing down there? You know, Samaritans, sympathy, empathy, and all that. Oh, what you doing down the hole? That's what, because I've done that in jail. I was a listener in jail, yeah?
Okay,
yeah, so
okay.
I've done so I've done, so it's sort of, when I look back, because I obviously put it to something else, but I know he's preparing me for something. I just know this, yeah? But there's a whole different story, and it probably needs to be on a Christian channel somewhere. But you just know, yeah? So then, it's not about, it's like saying, come on, man, we'll get you up, we'll go this way. You know, too many people go through life and get some awareness and some bloody understanding of how to put their shit back together. They get to the top of the mountain, they look behind them and they're by themselves. What's wrong with going, yo, this is the way I went, try come this way. You know what I mean? And get them over. But then when you get to the top, you say, we've got a few more to do yet, brother. And that's what it's about. What we do at the Breath of Life, it's amazing. It's a CIC company, Russ, yeah. So it's all, we don't like the word directors because it's a bit, the ego's there, innit? And where there's ego, there's no soul, you know? There ain't no soul. If there's ego and soul can't be in it, they don't mix together. It's like oil and water. Do you know what I mean? Just don't mix. Yeah? So what we try to do is we create an environment where there's just pure understanding, pure awareness, no resentment, no partiality, you know, no judgment. You know, there has to be no judgment. And we're just like, the people that are there, we've got lads from the forces, we've got lads from the construction industry, we've got lads from whatever life you want to call my life, the chaotic life. There's lads at work just don't work. We've got preacher, but I'm not talking a preacher like I said, he's not a Bible in the back pocket, he's a thingy. We've got lads from the fitness industry. When you get that array of people together from all different walks of life and there's no judgment there, the whole time you're judging people, you can't receive nothing from them because you're judging them. When you drop the judgment, so what happens if that person, when you're walking down the street and you look at him, because you might have your own little style and all that type of stuff, someone walks past and they might have different colour hair or look a little bit different, and you're judging that person. What happens if you actually spoke to that person and didn't judge them? What happens if they've got a couple of words to speak into your life that day that might make a difference? That's what judging does. It pulls the shutters down on everything, you know. When it all comes together like that, and you know, we haven't really gone for any funding and stuff like that. Do you know why? Because what we're doing is working. It'd be like, yeah, if the funding comes along, but first of all, we do it for the people, for the men. And then if any blessings come after that, then it's a bonus. But when you get lads that are sat down, and not just at a talking circle, on any of the thing at Forest and Fellowship, Check and Tranquility, Plant and Prosper, when they're sat there and they're going, do you know what? My missus said the other day, my kids said, that I've changed, man. They said, my daughter said the other day, Dad, it's been ages since you come back and put the music on and you singing in the kitchen. Do you know what I mean? My wife says, I can see a change in you, man. You're coming back and you just seem like you're the man that I fell in like. You don't fall out of love, but that's the man that I fell in love with. And you're like, that's enough for me. You know what I mean? You can give me that feeling, or give me £1 million. I'll take that feeling all day long. Yeah, all day long, and that's what it's about, you know. And that's why I love being a part of it. Maybe it's because I spent a lot of my life not being like that. Like I said, I spent a lot of my life being the person that I wasn't. Yeah, but I had to be that person I wasn't to find out who I was, and then I had to fucking graft to really get rid of that person. But it is amazing, man. You say, oh, why is it called the Breath of Life? Because we say, let the words that leave your mouth give life and not death. But what creates them words? It's the breath. So if you use the right breath and the right words, it gives life. Not just to you, but to the people around you.
Mate, honestly, this is why I wanted to sit down here today. You know, it's incredible what you guys are doing. And I said this before, it's what we need more of. We need more acceptance, less judgment, more groups like yours that are stood, how can I put it, in the best way possible, normal men.
Yeah, man.
Normal
Real.
men. Working class, like geezer type men.
Thank you.
Alpha males that can sit down and be honest and open that, you know, you can be a strong alpha male and still have emotions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because there's that misconception in there, like, you got to be this stoic, silent man to be that strength. That ain't strength. You know? It's not strength, though, is it? In many ways, it's a weakness.
I'll tell you where the strength is. When you know you can be like that, but you choose not to be that person. That's where the strength is.
Yeah.
So say, for instance, you can turn men to dust, we say, yeah? But you choose not to be that person. That's where the strength is. Because you know you can do that. Yeah? The strength and the superpower is your fucking thoughts and feelings. Simple as. It's the foundation of anything. And I think there should be safe spaces popping up left, right and centre. Not just for, you know, because the more... Say, for instance, we're down here on the street. Next thing, some bloody whatever goes off. There's there's something happening. Everybody's panicking for food. Fucking hell, next thing, everyone's in and out the spa shop. Bam, 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 bam. Clearing all the shelves. Someone's going to go hungry because there's only one shop. Yeah? The more shops there is, the less chance there is of people going hungry. So the way I see it, the more mental stuff that's out there to help men in their mental health, the more chance of getting through to that one. And that's what it's about. That's what I was trying to say earlier. It's not about numbers. It's about people.
Mate, 100%. You know? It's what this platform is all about, is the hope that there's one person that will hear something you said today and it will make a difference. Whether it's planting a seed that will grow in 6 months' time, it's all about that. And the more people like you and me and everyone else that's been on this platform can talk about mental health and the struggles and the reality, that's what will make a difference. Mate, massive respect to you, Jay, as well, over there at
Jay's
the camera.
over there, tucked away in the corner.
What you guys are doing is fucking incredible. I'll
you.
support it as much as I can. I'll put all your details in, like, the episode descriptions and that. I know you're Telford based at the minute.
Yeah, but wait, so you say Telford based. So what I'm saying is that I'll put this out there now. If there is anybody from another manor, another town, you know, obviously there's other people out there doing amazing stuff in the men's mental health sector without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, what I'm saying is, if there is something that's not happening on your manor, why not come and speak to us or get in contact, and we'll give you a little idea what we're getting up to. What's stopping you from doing the same thing in your area?
100%.
You know, what's stopping them from setting up this and that in their area? And you just got to have a few little things, you know, the trust, you know, the no judgment, the no partiality, all that type of stuff. Create that space. Have a few things where you get different things. So you have the one where you look the sporty side, the endorphins. Then you have the one, you just create a little space for the jesty, the forest and the fellowship. Then you create a few spaces where the family can come in and they can get to appreciate the change that you've made. So it's not just like a selfish thing. It should be happening all over the place, right? You know. So just say one thing, Russ.
Yeah, man. Say whatever you want.
So you know, like on the building sites and that now, yeah. The culture is with tradesmen. I think this is shit that it happens as well. The younger lads that are coming through, the big culture is go out, get sniffed up, get beard up, do this, do that, you know. And 9 times out of 10, the gaffers have been up to that as well. Yeah. What the hell is wrong with? So I said of you earlier about the Lost City and about them 7,000, and I was like, goose pimples all over me straight away. But them 7,000 people that could have gone and they could have built that Lost City. It's the Lost City because they're not around no more. So imagine how much work productivity and how much money that will cost. So what is wrong with the gaffer turning around midweek on a Wednesday and going, you know what, lads, we're going to down tools at bloody 3 o'clock, and this ain't optional. If you want to work for me, then we need to do this. We're going to go sit at Greasy Lil's Cafe down at the bottom. We're going to have a cup of coffee. I want to know that you're all right. I want to know that you're coming to work, and I want you to know that it's not just a workspace. This is a safe space where you're okay to say, you know what, Gaffer, or one of your workmates, I'm fucking struggling, man. I've got this going on. I've got that going on. Why is that not happening? So then for that price of coffee and that cup of tea, £2, whatever it might be, that's going to save you thousands in the future.
100%, mate.
Thousands, because you're actually getting through to your workforce, you know? Getting through and creating that safe space at work. Like, I know people that do that, you know, and they actually do make sure that their workforce is all right, because they're not just the gaffer. They understand the gaffer's thinking, you know, it should be happening in the big, massive, but the little businesses and all the rest of it.
Mate.
Do you know what I mean?
Just take a minute to think about that. 7,000 men.
I know. You got me, man. As soon as you said it,
and that's just out of construction. Just out of construction. That's not men across the UK. That's just out of the building trades. 7,000. It's insane. Like I said earlier, it's on average at the minute slightly over, because you talk averages and numbers, but it's over 2 men a day in construction that are taking their own life. And not only that, Chris, the worst part, mate, the ONS, who are the ones that calculate all the figures, and that trajectory is like that. It's going up, and has been for 10 years. Like, it's going up and up and up every year. And all the latest figures indicate it's still going up. You know, it's going to be more than that.
So there's something needs to change, and I'll tell you what
Definitely
needs to change. The men need to know that, you know, you said all the time, it's okay not to be okay, you know. It's okay to be in touch with your thoughts and feelings. It's okay to say to a brother, you know what, mate? Or, do you know what, bro? Or, you know what, geezer? However you say it, you look like you need a fucking hug, man. Come here and give kids a hug. It's okay to rock up to your pal or your friend or someone that you trust and have tears bowling down the front of your face and to say, I'm struggling. But no, we got to be these macho men. We got to be gladiators. We got to do this. We got to do that. Well, where's that got everyone? Yeah, where's that getting it? Like you said, it's going up and up and up. There needs to be a change. You know, that's what needs to happen. We need to be a part of the process of trying to bring those numbers down. And if
that's what we're doing, mate. That's what I'm doing. That's what you're doing, and that's what I said, man. Massive respect. You know, I'll do everything I can to try and spread awareness. What you guys are doing. Like I said, I'll put it all in the episode stuff. But anything I can do in the future, mate, just reach out.
Diamond, did you know what? Come in today. Do you know the bits that got me talking to you today? When you shared with me about a bit of the backstory to why this is happening, I felt that, brother, straight away. And I knew that we're on the same mission, but in different type of ways, for the same reason. And the lost city, man, you educated me today, so you really did. And when you put that in perspective, and you say Cardiff City, all the infrastructure, everything, all the workforce and everything, like, I hope and pray, and I will mention that in my prayer tonight.
Appreciate that
they will get the money that they need to be able to do that.
Do you know what, mate? I don't want to go too far into it, because I can get all political. No. I can get political about it, but the thing that really pisses me off at the minute,
about it then, let's do it.
Is that you've got that, yeah? So you've got, it's the worst industry in the UK for male suicide, yeah? And at the same time, you've got the government going, we ain't got enough houses.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? We ain't got enough people building them. That's what the problem is. It's that the construction industry is struggling. The government, they don't want to help. They don't want to provide any money or research into, hold on. Like, I said this before, Chris, I've said this exact thing, right? And it's not just about construction. So suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50 in the UK.
Yeah.
You imagine if that was anything else, yeah? And I've used this example before. Imagine cycling was the biggest killer of men under 50. What do you think would happen?
They'd have big barriers around all the roads.
You'd have to pass a test.
Yeah, you
There'd
would,
be like, you'd have
barriers,
to...
Yeah, you got too close, you get electrocuted, all that type of mad. Well, you would, but
exactly.
You know where I'm going with
it'd be a legal requirement to wear helmets, blah, 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 blah. There would be government intervention going, whoa, hold on, we got a problem. So why, when they know the problem, is there nothing? It's just men, isn't it?
So I have what you just said there. Something just come to my mind, and I'm not a crazy Christian, but something just come to my mind, and I feel like I need to say this. So, what it says in Scripture, my brother, it says we are at war of what we can't see rather than what we can see. So, can we see our thoughts in our head? No. Can we see our thoughts and our feelings? No. So he's warning us, you know, and that's what he's saying. We're at war of what we can't see and not what we can see. You can't see the thoughts in your head. And as men, as what we're trying to be advocates of here, and what we're trying to, the message that we're trying to spread, them are the words that just come to me. We're at war with what we can't see rather than what we can. We can't see our thoughts, we can't see our feelings, but what we can do is we can talk about them. So the more we talk about them, the more we get rid of that darkness in our heart, and the more space there is for light, brother.
100%,
100%, man. You know that. You know that.
Mate, it's I think that's a good place to wrap it up, man.
Yeah, man.
I'll put all your details on the episode description, but for any of the listeners anyway, just let them know where they can find you, where they can find Breath of Life.
Right, so the Breath of Life would be Men of the Breath of Life, so that would be on Instagram, and then I think it's Breath of Life. Well, I should know a bit more, but there is a guy that does all that side of things, and he's a great guy. That would be Breath of Life on the socials, and then but just like the personal pages, No Judgment 81, but that is just literally. That's got Breath of Life all over it as well.
I'll link on both, mate, because
you.
your own message and what you're doing is important as well. But I'll put them both in the episode description, mate. It's been a fucking pleasure, and it's an honour to host your story, mate. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me in, brother.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully your message will go out there and help people. So yeah, no, mate, I'm looking forward to watching your journey now as it carries on, and everything you're doing, because I'm sure there's big things ahead.
I hope so.
Appreciate it, man.
God bless.
So everyone listening, thank you for following us to this point. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff for me, and I will catch you soon on the next one. Right, mate, that is a wrap. Chris,
Nice one.
You're a legend, man.